Summer sounds like poolside party starters, red hot hip-hop mixes, and backyard barbecue classes. With exclusive specials and mixes, plus over 200 extra channels, your sun-soaked soundtrack awaits. Just tap into the SiriusXM app and search Summer Sounds. Visit SiriusXM.com/go to quickly sign up online and activate your radio. SiriusXM offers commercial-free music from nearly every genre at the touch of a button. Select your favorite channels, set your presets, and let SiriusXM's music experts handle the rest. Subscribe now and activate your radio. Visit SiriusXM.com/go to sign up online quickly or call 844-711-8800 now.
You know SiriusXM has over 100 extra channels on the SiriusXM app filled with ad-free music made for everything you do. Mashup channels, workout channels, channels for parties, or just chilling out and more. Expertly curated for any mood, occasion, or activity. Extra channels let you discover new music and enjoy even more variety from every decade and music style you love. Plus, you can watch some of your favorite SiriusXM shows with SiriusXM Video. And you can do it all along with listening in your car as part of our music and entertainment plan. Right now, we're offering SiriusXM subscription plans for as low as $6 a month, plus fees and taxes. Call 844-711-8800 to find out more about these amazing offers.
There you go now.
I think I'm recording.
Oh, I see.
If you've been thinking about buying a home, you need to be in the zone, the home buying zone. You need a game plan to win in this great real estate market. The Big C team at Equity Zone Mortgage has all your bases covered. Whether you're a first-time home buyer, purchasing your dream home, refinancing, consolidating debt, or even considering a reverse mortgage, contact the Big C team at Equity Zone Mortgage today. They have the lowest closing costs and they'll close your loan on time, guaranteed, or they'll pay your first mortgage payment. And they even have a 3.5% purchase down payment grant that can get you into a home with little money out of your pocket. It doesn't get more clutch than that, folks. Score big on the biggest purchase of your life. Call Equity Zone Mortgage today at 1-800-772-8624. That's 1-800-772-8624. Or apply online at equityzonemortgage.com and tell them Big C sent you as heard on the Big C Sports Podcast. License number 0184868.
Rondo Deportes, bonjour, vidi vidi vici. Let's get ready to rumble. Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton of Big C Sports. This is Big C Sports coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to me, and people who love the universe, and that would include you. What a beautiful day in the neighborhood, a beautiful day in the neighborhood. Won't you be my neighbor? Shut up! You know, 3 o'clock in the morning. As I told people many times, I've been nominated neighborhood spokesperson and neighborhood watch person, but some people don't like it when I do it 3 o'clock in the morning trying to get people together. It's all fair level war. Today's show is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. When you go by and test drive yours, tell them sit you where the good Lord split you. As well as driving a fleet of Cadillac cars all over the universe. I want to say with the Big C Sports Podcast on a beautiful Wednesday, June 5th, 2024. You can follow Big C Sports Podcast on 29 podcast applications all over the universe and streaming on 4 TV platforms: Xfinity, Comcast TV, Apple TV, Roku TV, and Amazon Fire TV. I want to say, unlike a lot of sports shows all over this beautiful world of ours, I produce the show, I direct the topics, I broadcast all the shows, and I do all the sound effects based on the platform provided by the agency. We could all use more laughter in our lives. I know I can use more laughter. And then the commercials are done. The stats are provided. The storytelling. I even do the play-by-play. Jaylen Brown for a 3. Yes! Get the hole in your life! I can't wait for the Boston Celtics and also the Dallas Mavericks to tip off tomorrow for Game 1 of the 2024 NBA Finals at TD Garden in beautiful Boston, Massachusetts. But I love doing a lot of things with Big C Sports Podcast. I love making sure I do that. And then the shows It's uploaded to 29 podcast platforms out of New York City and streaming on 4 TV platforms: Xfinity, Comcast TV, Apple TV, Roku TV, and Amazon Fire TV. And then I never missed a show since starting Big C Sports back in the day with the crew at Salem Media, and I really do appreciate that. I also want to say something that's near and dear to my heart. On every one of my Big C Sports podcasts, I like to pay homage to the Veterans Crisis Hotline, because they really are experienced helping veterans and their loved ones get help. You know, anybody going through issues, pick up the phone, call 800-273-8255. That's 800-273-8255. Or you can text 838-255. That's 838-255. If you're online, simply go to veteranscrisisline.net. That's veteranscrisisline.net. And when you do, you want to give us some praise, because we all need somebody to lean on. And it's nice when somebody is leaning back. I want to say thank you to Xfinity, Comcast TV, and Comcast Spotlight Effect TV for presenting Big C Sports to the universe. Just like in Genesis 1:3, where God said, reparations now, reparations forever. And then God said, let there be light. Some pastors don't like when I say that because they can't find that verse in the Bible. But I got my own verse, and that's what I love doing. I'm part of the California Reparations Task Force because I know our mind is a terrible thing to waste. And I want to make sure that I pay homage to the California Reparations Task Force before I do my show today, and I have a special guest coming on. It's important to me because outside of Big C Sports Podcast, most people don't even know that we have a California Reparations Task Force. We don't have one. We have one, but if you don't hear about it, then how do you support it? I have the pleasure of having Marcellus Brown come on to the show in just a moment. His son Jaylen plays for the Boston Celtics, but he's also trying to bring the Black Wall Street to Boston. But I want to pay homage to California's Reparations Task Force because you probably won't want to hear it elsewhere. The chair, Camila Moore, she's an attorney. She's brilliant. I love giving her praise. Dr. Amy C. Brown, the vice chair, he's brilliant. I love giving him praise. He's actually been on the Big C Sports Podcast. Really love giving him praise. I want to give praise to California Senator Stephen Bradford. He's brilliant. I love giving him praise. He got some bills passed for reparations in California, and that's important that we have that. People need to know about it. Senate Bill 1331, Senate Bill 1403, and Senate Bill 1050. I love mentioning that for Senator Bradford. He's an amazing man, and now he has something coming up in front of the Assembly. They're going to have a speech on that coming up on June 11th at 9 o'clock a.m. at the State Capitol, room 437. Either be there or help somebody get there if that makes sense to you. I love giving them praise. And then I want to give praise to Councilmember Monica Montgomery Stepp. She's brilliant. I love giving her praise. I want to give praise to Assembly Member Reginald Jones Sawyer. He's brilliant. I love giving him praise. I want to give praise to Dr. Shell Grills. She's brilliant. I love giving her praise. I want to give praise to Attorney Lisa Holder. She's brilliant. I love giving her praise. And she specializes in diversity, equity, and inclusion, and a lot of people trying to get rid of that in college campuses. I will always champion for her. I want to give praise to Dr. Javon Scott Lewis, professor at California Berkeley, the same school that Jaylen Brown went to. Love giving him praise. I want to give praise to Attorney Donald K. Tamaki. I'm telling you, part of the California Reparations Task Force as a Japanese American. He actually got reparations. And he believes that reparations are due. And I believe it too. Well, that's my story, and I'm sticking with it. As you know, I'm part of the National Black Wall Street Project, a co-chair in Northern California. And my push is for reparations. If we could just get our sports leaders in our NBA, in NFL, in Major League Baseball to stand behind the men that make them rich. African Americans, we can get closer to that. And I believe either lead, follow, or get out of the way. I want to be a part of that. Also work with Brother Aleem Shabazz, owner of Crescent Sports Media, co-chair of the National Black Wall Street Project here in Northern California. And then Double O, she's also a part of the National Black Wall Street Project. She's a payout committee, has her own economics awareness talk show called Let's Eat. You can hear it on Access in Sacramento. You can Google that. And then also Reverend Tony Pierce, the president and CEO of National Black Wall Street Project. I want to give it all praise, praise, praise. And when I come back, I'm going to bring on Mr. Jaylen's father, Marcellus, a brilliant man, has a lot of things to say about his son, also his son's foundation, and what he's doing in the world of sports. I'll take what's called the Big C pause, and I'll be back in just a moment. You don't want to miss it. All right, we're back from the Big C pause, also known as the Big C timeout. You can follow Big C Sports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on 29 podcast applications all over the universe and streaming on 4 TV platforms: Xfinity, Comcast TV, Apple TV, Roku TV, and Amazon and Fire TV. You know, I had the pleasure of talking to a great man by the name of Marseilles Brown. He has a sports bio. It's more than a conqueror. 2015 at WBU. A CAM heavyweight champion, also 2016, and then has a great professional boxing record. But I love the fact that he's on the program again. We had him on last year. And his son, Jaylen's also in the NBA Finals with the Boston Celtics. And a lot like what I'm doing with Big C Sports Podcast, I want to edify fathers. I know Father's Day is coming up this month. And oftentimes, we don't get a lot of edification for fathers. But Mr. Marseilles, I know you just flew in to Boston last night and you're getting ready for the game tomorrow. How was your flight, sir?
The flight was good.
Flight was good? They treated you nice?
Well, first class is always good.
They knew that when they saw you walking in. That's all good. And then I want to ask you, obviously, you have a sports background. You do so many things. And then the world right now is focused on NBA basketball. We won't forget NHL hockey, but basketball is first class, like you flew into Boston first class. Just give me the feeling of what it's like as a father showing up to watch your son perform on a world stage. How does that make you feel?
I'm very proud. That's the only word I have to describe how I feel. Just super proud of my son and just grateful to be alive to see him do his thing.
Yes, he's obviously just a wonderful, wonderful young man. I've been following Jaylen when he played out actually at Cal Berkeley, but a lot of people, when you think about, let's just be candid, okay? We think about athletes, and oftentimes, as you know, these college programs will flood the college campuses and the high school campuses looking for the next superstar, and Jaylen's a superstar. He can't help it. But he's more than just a basketball player, and I want to talk about that after I edify him. With the Boston Celtics now, we know playing for championship number 18 if they get it. They're tight with the Lakers right now. But what people don't often see is what you saw in that young man. When did you realize that your son was not only going to be a great athlete, but a very intelligent young man as well? Your thoughts?
Well, smarts run in the family, man, and all my kids are very highly intelligent as well as Jaylen.
Yes.
And but he was very persistent in what he wanted to be.
Yes.
More than any of my other children. He knew what he wanted to be. He knew he was going to be that. And he used to tell him, I'm going to be like this, and I'm going to be better than that, and I'm going to be all of that. So he's just living his dream.
Just living his dream. Well, also, with Father's Day weekend, Father's Day is coming up right around the corner. You've seen a lot of fathers that may go to AAU circuits or they go to the high school circuit, and they're so passionate in supporting their children. And I'm one of those fathers. As a father and the son who's gone to the highest level, signed a multi-million-dollar contract, as a father, can you tell other fathers at what point do you back off? At what point do you let them go ahead and make their own success and even their own mistakes? Your thoughts?
Lost you.
Can you say one? Yeah, I can hear you. Go right ahead, sir.
Did I tell fathers love?
Yeah, you know how sometimes you go to the basketball games, AAU or high school, and fathers are very involved, and they want their kid to be what your son became, which is very, very challenging to do. What advice would you give to fathers about let their son find their own path in life because maybe they don't want to be what the dads are pushing them to be in? Does that make sense? When do you back off?
Yeah, I just be personally, if you don't back off, relationship with your son, you gotta let him. You gotta let him walk in and grow in to his.
And it would happen. Perfect, no problem. We're having a little bit of trouble with the mic, but that's okay. We get through it, just like air turbulence. We will fight through it. But sometimes you got to let them find their own path. And then I want to ask you, at the point where your son was able to get drafted, and now he's around grown men now, NBA players. Is there a time where he says, "Dad, I got it," or does he still ask his father for advice?
No, he needs advice at all times.
Yes.
He always going to need dad and mom's advice and his grandfather's advice. And people that he trusts, he's going to need that, because you come across a lot of political obstacles you have to endure, and you got to make the right decision. So
that's very powerful.
Yeah.
I want to ask you that thing. You mentioned the grandfathers, also the mom and dad's advice, and then some kids, they don't have that opportunity for whatever reason. Right. But what does that mean to you to have a generation under you, which is your son, and then the grandparents being there like a village to raise a child? What does that mean to you personally, not to have to do it on your own? Your thoughts?
As parents there, parents there for the support, because I don't know everything, and you learn from experience. And his grandfather, is very wise and very humble, and he has that ability to speak to his grandfather, his grandmother,
yes,
and his mother and his father, and he's blessed to have us in his life to be able to do that.
Yes, talking to the great Marcellus Brown, the father of NBA great Jaylen Brown, playing for the Boston Celtics. They're actually the number 1 seed in the NBA Finals. They are favored over the Dallas Mavericks. We'll get on that in just a moment. But something that I'm sure Marcellus is even more proud of, if it's possible, than his son being an NBA superstar. Your son also has a conscience that I really appreciate as another African-American man. He has a foundation called the Seven Jews Foundation, a history of systemic racism. Now, for a lot of other men, please listen to this coming up on Father's Day weekend. The Seven Jews Foundation, the work is centered on the premise that a history of systemic racism has created and entrenched barriers to educational opportunities, socioeconomic opportunities, and also access to health and wellness, and has marginalized black and brown communities. That's not making an excuse. That's an observation. Jaylen was recruited by Ivy League institutions, even NASA, but he's also talented enough. He could probably fly to the moon. Probably, Mr. Brown, your thoughts? Not only was he recruited by NASA to fly around,
he can fly to the moon.
The brother's been anointed to fly to the moon and also handle a basketball. But give me your thoughts on his foundation.
Well, I think his foundation is a very positive foundation. He helps.
Go to right ahead as he worked through the turbulence. Go right ahead, please.
And know that they can do all things, and through Christ, which is a wonderful thing that my son has the mindset that he has to reach out to the younger youth and pull them, let them know that they can do the things he can do.
Wonderful, wonderful. Talking to the great Marcellus Brown, the father of NBA great Jaylen Brown. And again, the mission statement, before I get into basketball, the mission statement, founded by Jaylen Brown, the Jews Foundation partners with institutions, organizations, and social change leaders to bridge the opportunity gap for youth in traditionally underserved black and brown communities. I'm out here in California. I'm part of the National Black Wall Street Project, co-chairs nationwide, all 50 states, and we have a push for reparations. We're not shy about it. We're asking President Biden to do the same thing that President Lincoln did, sign reparations through executive order. Right. We know that New York Governor Kathy Hochul, they're doing a study the same way California Governor Gavin Newsom did a study on the program. Every show I edify the reparations task force leaders. And when Jaylen signed his big contract, they asked him what he wants to do, and he said he wants to bring the Black Wall Street to Boston. Your heart must be so proud that he's more than just an athlete. Your thoughts?
Right, yeah. I also warn him to be kind of careful with kind of stuff like that. Getting into politics, you know how these people are, man.
Yep.
Like this.
I understand.
Minorities, stand strong in our community and to uplift our community in that way.
Yes.
And by him saying he's going to do this in Boston and do that in Boston, I don't see it happening in Boston, but God bless if it does. You know what I'm saying? There's too many white folks over here for that.
There are always people pro and con. We know that. It's going to take people on both sides. I do want to say, though, California, the Senate passed the Senate Bill 1331, 1403, and also 1050 by a black man, Senator Bradford, and it was majority white that passed it. So I just want to put that out there too. There's a lot of good people.
That's a blessing. That's a blessing.
Yeah.
That's a blessing.
And they're coming up on the assembly next week, and we hope that happens. But I wanna say, so I thank you for advocating for your son. And now I want to ask you one more thing that it may or may not be something you want to talk about. But did he ever leave the last piece of food, sweet potato pie, for Dad, or did he eat it before you got to the table? That makes sense growing up.
Sweet potato pie, he gonna eat that. He gonna get that one. If my mama made it, he gonna eat it.
he may have left you the last bowl of collard greens, but sweet potato pie, you're on your own, right?
That sweet potato pie is gone, buddy. He gonna eat that one. Who ate that pie?
And nobody's hands went up. He's smart enough to fly around the moon, and he's smart enough not to say, I ate the last one. That's all.
Yes, sir. He gonna eat that. The boys could eat. Him and his brother, oh my God.
Oh, they were tearing it up, huh?
Yes, sir.
Well, Marcellus, I want to ask you your thoughts now. Of course, there's so much time and energy that people put into trying to become great at anything. But playing for the Boston Celtics, they just lost, obviously, one of the greater player, Bill Walton, in the history of the Boston Celtics.
Yeah, he was a good friend of mine. I know Bill.
Oh, really?
He also commentated my son's college games at Berkeley.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yes, he did. Yeah.
Well, what a shame.
He was a good guy.
What a shame that Bill's gone too soon. 71's young. And then the Pac-12 is leaving at the end of this year. They're going to join the Big 10 and the Big 12 different schools.
Right.
But I want to get your thoughts then. I didn't know that you had that kind of a relationship with Bill Walton.
Yeah.
Give me your feeling when you're back in Boston.
Bill was a good guy, man. He loved great wisdom and advice for people.
Yeah.
And he was just an all-around good guy. I didn't know him personally. I just knew him on the level of, commentating with my son and asking me questions about my son and stuff like that when he played at Berkeley.
Well, that's wonderful, talking to the great Marcellus Brown. So, Marcellus, now we get into the meat and potatoes of it. The late Johnny Mosley was a commentator for the Boston Celtics. You talk about Bill Russell. You talk about Larry Bird, obviously. You talk about some of the great players now, your son, Jaylen, and then Jason Tatum. When you go into that, it used to be the parquet. It is still the parquet floor, but that was at the old Boston Garden. Is there a different pressure playing for the Boston Celtics or the LA Lakers, of course, out here? Golden State Warriors too. But historically, Boston and LA is always about Boston and LA. If they win this championship, they go to 18 and they leave the Lakers at 17. Is there a different pressure or mindset that your son has to embrace for outside of being on the parquet floor? Go right ahead, sir. I know we're having some troubles with the microphone, but I want to make sure you heard my question. Is there a different pressure playing for Boston than maybe other NBA teams? Your thoughts? Okay, I think we had a little bit of turbulence. When we start talking about reparations, why did the call drop, Mr. Marcellus Brown?
They don't want me to. Hey, I teach my youngins, we need our reparations.
We need our reparations, and like a lot of people have got them all over this country and all over the world.
Yes.
But yes. I do want to ask you your thoughts, though. I talked about before somebody unplugged our microphone. We got about another 5 minutes.
Okay.
Going to Boston. 17 championships, tied with the Lakers at 17. If they win, they get number 18. With your son going into that city with the history of it from Bill Russell, Casey Jones, of course, Larry Bird, and now the guys they have now, Bill Walton, we talked about that.
That's history right there, man.
Is there an added pressure? Is there an added pressure for him?
I think so, it is. It is. He's got to do it this year. If he don't do it this year, I think they dismantle the team. That's just my opinion.
Really? Would you agree with that, though, Marcellus?
Well, they can't pay two people $300 million.
Yes. So, obviously, now remember this. Your son, you did say he left you the last bowl of the collard greens, so I know you're advocating trade Jason Tatum to keep him. Your thoughts?
Hey, if Jason Tatum don't show up at these playoffs, he going to get a piece of my mind.
And no collard greens, right?
And no collard greens. Well, he going to get the neck bones.
But I got to ask you this question because they played Golden State a couple years ago. Steph Curry did his thing. Got game MVP, also tournament finals MVP. Draymond Green is tough, and also Klay Thompson. But when it comes to Dallas, I know there's a lot of pressure on Jaylen and also Jason Tatum. But when you look across, go ahead, your thoughts.
I just think that's going to be a wonderful matchup, and it's going to be some great basketball.
Some great basketball. Now, let me ask you to look at both sides. Like, as a boxer, you got to look at what you do great, but you also got to look at what your opponent does, like Ali fighting Frazier, etc. What do you see in Boston? Kyrie Irving is the real deal. When he was back in Boston, he was loved and hated. But your thoughts?
Luka is the real deal too, bro.
Yeah.
I'm just keeping it 100. Personality, he's playing sound, he's staying out of the media, and he's just playing good, solid basketball. I just look forward to it be a great tournament.
I'm telling you, I hope it goes
a great series.
A great series, and I hope it goes 7 games. If there's anything, as we close out again, talking to the great Marcellus Brown, the father of Jaylen Brown, NBA great, Boston Celtics, it's getting thick with the energy in Boston. It's getting thick with the atmosphere in Boston. It's getting thick with that pressure to win. Now, are they going to disband this team? Which Marcellus said, you can't pay 2 guys $300 million, and that's very true. But with that said, if you were to look in the eyes of the Boston Celtics, if there's one player to stop, and that's hard to say, 99-100 to score, 5 seconds left, who do you have more fear having the last shot, Luka or Kyrie? Your thoughts?
Luka.
You have more fear of Luka having the last shot?
Yeah.
Now,
either one of them is a toss-up.
Yeah,
but that Luka, man, he's freaking dangerous.
He's something dangerous. Now I'm going to ask you. I'm going to ask you a question that, as a father, obviously, I know you're going to answer the question the proper way. Let's say the score is 100-99. Boston's down by 1 point. There's 5 seconds left. Who does Marcellus want with the ball in his hands? Is it Jaylen or Jason? Your thoughts?
It better be Jaylen.
Spoken like a real father.
hey, I'm not taking no chance on the choke artist.
Anything's possible. I think that Garnett told us that before back in the day. Well, this is Big C Sports Podcast, talking to Marcellus Brown, the father of Jaylen Brown. We got Boston. We got Dallas is coming up on Thursday in Boston. I will close with you. Is there anything you want to give out to the audience, where people can find you, what's important to you, anything you're working on, and how people can be of help to what you're working on? Or are you just there to enjoy the game? Your thoughts?
Yeah, just, hey, man, it's going to be a great game, and I'm praying to God that Dallas Mavericks, one of their players gets sick.
Hey, your son wouldn't give you that last piece of sweet potato pie. Maybe they'll give Dallas some sweet potato pies. It's only been a couple of years old, if that makes sense to you. But we don't hope anybody any ill. But I do want to say,
yeah, we don't.
I thank you, Mr. Brown, for talking about your thoughts on Black Wall Street that I'm active in. We talked about reparations. We talked about NBA Finals. Your son. If the brother can be recruited by NASA to fly around the moon, maybe the Boston Celtics can trust him with the last shot. Your thoughts?
I'm thinking, just run for president, son.
Why not? You got my vote, right? Well, I want to say thank you, Mr. Brown, for being on Big C Sports Podcast. I hope you enjoy Boston. I wish for the best team to win, no matter who it is. I hope that you see a great game, and I really do appreciate you being on the show. So I want you to have a super fantastic day.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Have a super
Stay in touch, though, Kerry. Stay in touch.
I will. This is Big C Sports, talking to the great Marcellus Brown, the father of Jaylen Brown, NBA great Boston Celtic. We know they have a big game coming up in the NBA Finals. It's the Dallas Mavericks versus the Boston Celtics. And there's something about NBA basketball that is so fantastic. And not only when you think about how great the games can be, there's so many times when you think about how many times do you hear a father of a great player being acknowledged? Or you hear the mothers of a great player being acknowledged? And how many times do you hear about a father being interviewed on a program to talk about his son that's going to play in the NBA Finals? Marcellus Brown, his sports bio, also known as AKA Marcellus Brown, Quentin Marcellus Brown, a towering professional in the athletic world and a health and wellness arena. Many have said that he's 7 foot tall. He's 7 foot tall man. So he's taller than Bill Walton that he talked about earlier. Could not make it in boxing. One trainer informed him that no one that tall can. Not only had he made it in boxing, The man has done so many great things in his own life. He sparred with the fellow fighters, the great John Ruiz, Hassam Rahman, singer Shannon Briggs, Larry Donald, Mike the Bounty Hunter, and then the great Riddick Bowe, Greg Page, Eddie Chambers, Andrew Gold, Oliver McCall, so many others. He's also being trained by Floyd Mayweather Sr., Roger Mayweather, Jeff Mayweather. There's so many other great men that he's been around in the world of sports. But I just want to say he's a media relations and publicity at AWJ Platinum PR. You can email him at info@awjplatinum.com. That's the great Marcellus Brown on the Big C Sports Podcast. I'm going to take what's called the Big C Pause, also known as the Big C Timeout. And when I come back, I'm going to talk tomorrow about Big C Sports Podcast, reparations, and what's going on in the sports universe. I'll take the Big C Pause, and I'll be back in just a moment. All right, we're back from the Big C Pause, also known as the Big C Timeout. You can follow Big C Sports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on 29 podcast applications all over the universe. And streaming on 4 TV platforms, Xfinity, Comcast TV, Apple TV, Roku TV, and Amazon Fire TV. Just had the great Marcellus Brown on the program with the Big C Sports Podcast. He's in Boston now, waiting for a tip-off tomorrow for the NBA championship. The Boston Celtics will take on the Dallas Mavericks, the great Luka Doncic and the great Kyrie Irving. They're the two stalwarts on the Dallas Mavericks. And then, of course, you have the great Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. But Jason has a lot to put on his shoulders. But I think Jaylen Brown might be the best guy to take the shot. That's just my opinion with Big C Sports. Jaylen also has his own foundation. And I'll let him speak for it in his own words. It's going to take about a minute and a half to let you hear what he says about his own foundation. And I hope that other young people can get involved in being more than just an athlete. And when you stand next to a man that's 7 feet tall and his son's recruited by NASA to fly around the moon, in fact, to fly around the universe, maybe, just maybe, he's someone worth listening to. But I want you to let him speak in his own words as he talks to you about his foundation.
Some really smart people, but yet really brave people have worked tirelessly to end the detrimental effects of systemic racism for years. The goal of the Juice Foundation is to highlight those individuals, partner with those individuals, build connections and resources for those individuals, and build for communities who constantly get overlooked. The platform I have is too big not to use my resources to be a voice for the voiceless and give others a platform to continue to use my experience, my lived experience, and my network to build bridges for opportunities, build bridges for through education, build bridges through health and wellness, build bridges through art and expression, build bridges through advocacy and policy change, and all of the above, just ultimately make the world a better place. Progress is not always a straight line. It is not always pretty. But I'm in this for the long haul. We must learn from others who think they have nothing to teach, and we must teach others who think they have nothing to learn. Our generation deserves to be more equitable and sustainable, and I'm willing to put the time and the effort in to oversee that, and I hope you guys join me.
In your life, get the hole! The great Jaylen Brown, superstar basketball player for the Boston Celtics, and his father was just on Big C Sports Podcast.
Tatum trying to get free. Throwing in the corner. Brown fakes, fires up the three. Jaylen Brown knocks down the three to tie the game.
The three. Why? Because then you're a little bit late to close. Still a contest, JJ. And he's actually well positioned. Incredible shot making by Jaylen Brown.
And with the separation that was created initially on that screen, Siakam wasn't in position to make the quick foul. Sidestep, three-pointer, puts it up. Bang!
In your life, get the hole! I tell you, I love NBA basketball.
What a star. The game time to Smart. Now the Celtics will push. The bounce ahead to Brown, and he punches it. Barr was a little late there.
In your life! I love NBA basketball, and you love it too. All right, I'm back from the Big C Pause, also known as the Big C Timeout. You can follow Big C Sports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on 29 podcast applications all over the universe. You're streaming on 4 TV platforms: Xfinity, Comcast TV, Apple TV, Roku TV, and Amazon Fire TV. And I want to give that some praise. Give it all praise. You know, with Big C Sports Podcast. Not only do I talk with the NBA athletes and the fathers of NBA athletes, I've been working on an infomercial, and some people say infomercial is more like a movie, Big C. Well, it may be more like a movie, but I want to make sure I do my part, because every athlete is not what you make, it's what you keep. I work with the Big C Sports, the #1 sports show in the universe. I also tell you what I do. I have a guide to protect, preserve, and transfer wealth with the RDC team, and consultant with Resource Development Consulting, in conjunction with the law office of Scott Thibodeau and the law office of Attorney George Jones. The Missing Link, long-term care solutions by the book. Over 3 decades of experience helping seniors get their benefits, Medicare, and you taking care of tomorrow. In California, it's called Medi-Cal. In other places, it's called Medicaid. Now follow along. You, your family, and spouse can avoid the spend down for nursing home costs. You can find out your options, 800-772-8624, 800-772-8624. You can text. I'm telling you, you can realize our promise to you to specialize, to navigate and maximize long-term care benefits, protection of your assets without the spend down. You better believe when you're in Boston taking on Dallas, you better protect your assets. In that game, we do that. We help you protect your assets without a spend down. All paperwork and communication with all government agencies are handled by our staff of entitlement specialists. Ongoing consulting to provide updates as necessary. Benefits covering skilled nursing facilities, prescription medications, and medical equipment costs, and more. Not only that, you know anyone who's ever dealt with the skilled nursing facilities? Do you know anyone who's ever dealt with medical prescriptions? Do you know anyone who's ever dealt with medical equipment costs? And more. Not only that, protection of your assets! Just like Boston and Dallas, they're going to tell their defense, you got to protect your backside, known as your assets! You can't let people just drive to the paint without being touched. Hit them on their assets, if that makes sense to you. We do that with the RDC team, including your home, thereby allowing you to leave a legacy for your family. Avoiding the nightmare of debt brought by the government's estate recovery program can be from 10 to 40%. If you don't have a will and a trust, you better believe the probate has one for your assets, if that makes sense to you. Because if you don't protect your assets, the probate court, they will come after your assets. I want to protect your assets. We do that all the time. Because if you don't, when you go into the probate court, they got a will for you. And you will not like it. That's why we help you the trust. All's fair and level, where a one-time processing fee versus monthly insurance premiums for the rest of your life. Not only that, give me some praise. I'm not done yet. I told you it's more like a movie than an infomercial, Big C. That's true. With asset protection, resource development consulting, in conjunction with the law office of Scott Thibodeau and the law office of Attorney George Jones, we offer protection, insurance coverage required by law, general liability, workers' compensation, lawyers specializing in living trust, Medicaid or Medi-Cal planning for long-term care. Avoid probate. You have life insurance plans, veterans benefits, aid and attendance, pre-planning, and avoid the look-back period. What about fixed assets, Big C? I'm glad you asked. Your bank account, checking account, savings account, money market account, certificates of deposit, life insurance with cash values, fixed index annuities. Not only that, what about variable assets? I'm glad you asked. Real estate, qualified money, IRAs, 401ks, other investments. Avoid capital gains. Let's say you buy a house for $100,000, and then 1 year later it's worth $1 million, according to some real estate brokers. They got to do what they got to do to get the money. That's a $900,000 capital gains. Do you avoid that when your property's in a trust? Over 3 decades of experience. Attention business owners, find out your other options to protect what your insurance does not cover. 800-772-8624. That's 800-772-8624. When you do, you want to give it some praise. I say give it praise. Oh, Big C, my insurance covers everything. Well, that's not necessarily true. All we need is a copy of your declaration page. Call 800-772-8624. 800-772-8624. That's 800-772-8624. You know, in California, we don't have a lot of floods. We don't have a lot of rain. But every now and then there are fires. And then every now and then there's rain. You know, some good old boys, when it floods every now and then in California, some good old boys would say, well, the house got flooded. They call the insurance company, and the insurance company said, we don't cover flood insurance. But what? I have insurance. And the insurance company says, yeah, but we don't see where you have flood insurance. Why would I have flood insurance in the desert? Well, because you want to protect your assets. And because you don't have a flood insurance, if the house is destroyed by a flood, you know it will not be replaced. Now, if it's destroyed by a fire, then they'll replace it. If it's fire damage and replacement cost. You know, some good old boys were so foolish. They were setting their houses on fire in a flood in California last year thinking, oh, that'll work? That'll work? No, I would not advise doing that. Their insurance companies, they find out with their investigators. In the house, if you don't have flood insurance, it's not protected if it washes away in the flood. I know it's a hard reality to take, but that's what we call 800-772-8624, 800-772-8624. And when you do, just tell me you want to get a quote for insurance. We're going to ask for a copy of your declaration page. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. May lightning strike! If your house is destroyed by lightning, and that lightning causes a fire, just check with your insurance carrier, 800-772-8624, 800-772-8624, and make sure that you're covered. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. Well, Big C, why would we work with you? I'm going to tell you, I'm one of the only consultants in the universe that will ask you to get a second opinion. Most people, they're not going to tell you to get a second opinion. They're going to say, I'm a good person. I'm an honest person. I'm a hard-working person. Therefore, you can trust me to handle your estate planning. Well, that may be, or it may not be. No matter what they tell you, you always want to get a second opinion. With the RDC team, we give you a second opinion. One that you can look for and find out for yourself with your own eyes and ears. I'm going to tell you why the RDC team with Big C Sports, because we have the endorsements of Mr. George Jones, the chairman of the California Black Chamber of Commerce, the California Black Chamber of Commerce Foundation. We have Mr. Scott Thibodeau, one of the top estate planners in Northern California. We have Mr. Leon Woods, Resource Development Consulting, works with many of the top lobbyists in California. Not only that, we have Miss Cheryl Brown. She's the chair of the California Commission on Aging. She endorses the RDC team. Not only that, we have Mr. Ray De La Cruz. He's the CEO of RDC Consulting, Resource Development Consulting. Had the endorsement of the late Cal PERS chief legal mind, the late Robert Carlson. He endorsed the RDC team. Not only that, we have Mr. Alex De La Cruz. He's the founder of American Veterans Benefits. He endorses the RDC. As I told you, not only that, Charlton Curry, part of the co-chair of the National Black Wall Street Project in California, and I endorse the RDC team. Also, consultant with RDC Consulting, I endorse it. Also, we have Double O. She's the payout committee for the National Black Wall Street Project, and she endorses the RDC. She's also a consultant, has her own economics awareness talk show called Let's Eat. You can Google it on Access in Sacramento, all fair and level work. I say give that praise. I say give it praise, praise, praise. That's why if you do something, ask whoever asks you to do business with them who already endorses them. Because that's important. What they say, a mind is a terrible thing to waste. I want to make sure that I do that with Big C Sports Podcast. Give it all praise, praise, praise. And as I say, sometimes people say, Big C, why do you talk so much about reparations? Can you just give us the game? Tell us the score. Well, I was actually interviewed by the Associated Press, the largest media in the United States and the oldest media in the United States. And they did the article asking me, it was Janie Harr back on March 29th, 2023. And she'd asked me my thoughts on reparations. And March 29th, 2023. And she said Charlton Curry at Big C Sports Podcast talks reparations in that cash papers are necessary because we want to be treated fair. It's a good thing. That's why I support California Senator Stephen Bradford. He's brilliant. Helped get passed through the California Senate. Senate Bill 1403, Senate Bill 1331, and Senate Bill 1050. And now it's going to go. It had a majority win on average about 30-5. And next coming up on June 11th at the state capitol in California at 9 a.m. in room 437. You get the chance to speak for about a minute on do you believe in supporting reparations? And as I always say, reparations now, reparations forever. That's my story. I'm taking with it. But I don't just want to have with Big C Sports Podcast just my opinion. I love adding the bright minds of people who have more common sense than I. Listen to Attorney Areva Martin and her thoughts on reparations.
Not that cash payments by themselves are enough. It's that cash payments is one way to recognize the harm that was done. And it's very interesting when you look at the Jesuit universities, 27 of them, and the work that they've done in this area. They've gone through this very, very exhaustive process to investigate their relationship to slavery. I mean, so much so that they hired genealogists to trace and to find the actual descendants of enslaved people. So, I mean, you have to think about how expansive and, intense and comprehensive this research was. But then you have to also ask yourself, how come these institutions with all of their resources never, ever utilized an economist, a statistician, a labor, expert to tell us the value of the wages and the wealth that they accumulated? It just looks like this big gaping hole. So I think the question should be reframed. How come the universities aren't sharing with the families the value of the labor and the value of the wealth that they've accumulated? So people are always asking descendants or survivors, why do you want money? And I think the question should be the opposite. How come you're not coming to us with money? When you think about the 9/11 victims or any victims of a disaster in this country, there's never ever a question about should we compensate them. That is a part of our civil, legal, judicial system. You have a harm, somebody else causes it, you are entitled to compensation. It's never ever challenged except in those examples where Black folks are involved. So I think we have to change the narrative around this question, and rather than, and not suggesting you're doing this, but oftentimes families or individuals who are seeking compensation are put on the defensive as if they've done something wrong. No fault of our own. We did nothing wrong. And if you worked for me, I'm an entrepreneur, business owner, if you worked for me and I never paid you, you would have recourse. You would be able to go to a labor board. You'd be able to go into our courts and demand your labor be compensated. You'd be able to get penalties against me for not compensating you. You'd be able to get interest on those wages that I didn't pay you. So again, this isn't like new to capitalism. This is how our country is built. This is how we operate today. You work, I pay. Let's be clear. So our request in terms of compensation restitution is not the total amount that was calculated. We calculated that amount because we felt like it needed to be a part of the conversation. It's on the table. We're not asking them for $74 billion. We're asking them to consider the value of that slave labor in the same way they are considering other aspects of their relationship with enslaved people. What we hope to get out of it is, first, that descendants are literally put back on this committee, that this is no longer a university exclusive committee, that the descendants are there at the table, that they commit to a timeline. Loyola University of Maryland went through this process and wrapped their work up in 2 years. So you can Google them and see what they've done in 2 years. We're into year 5, and we've not even sat down and talked about a plan. So we also hope that there's a commitment to wrap this work up in some foreseeable future, 6 months, 12 months, that it not just go on indefinitely. And then we are asking that the plan that is developed includes not only some of the things that we see in this work, monuments, things that give attribution to those who helped build this university, curriculum changes, projects that help the community. One thing we realized, so many people in St. Louis is a small city, 300,000 people. I live in Los Angeles now. There are like 12 million people where I live. So few people had even heard of this work. So another part of what we're hoping that comes out of this is some resources spent educating people about this work, because people in that very community don't know. And then, of course, some kind of financial restitution for the labor, for the wages that have been uncompensated for this period of time.
In your life, get the whole, do you believe in reparations? Yes! Reparations now, reparations forever. I love saying that. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. You know what? I have the pleasure of having the great Marcellus Brown, father of NBA great Boston Celtic Jaylen Brown. He had the NBA Finals tipping off on Thursday at TD Gardens in Boston, Massachusetts. And Luka Doncic and the Dallas Mavericks and Kyrie Irving of the Dallas Mavericks. Their Jedi Knights trained long ago in a galaxy far away. And they take on the great Jaylen Brown and the great Jason Tatum, trained by the great Obi-Wan Kenobi. Their Jedi Knights trained long ago in a galaxy far, far away. In fact, Jaylen was actually recruited by NASA. May lightning strike! That brother smart, also a great NBA basketball player, but he would not leave his daddy the last slice of pie. Well, that's his daddy's fault, because that sweet potato pie was so good. It's like where I grew up, when mama and grandmas made the pies, it's your fault if you don't get there in time. They say, let's eat. Just like Double O has an economics awareness talk show called Let's Eat. Well, if you don't eat, it's your fault. You gotta get that pie. Hopefully, Jaylen will give his daddy a slice of pie back in Boston. All's fair and level war. I hope that sports agents, when you look at African-American sports agents, they're closing deals and making histories with top 10 draft picks. I mean, a lot of people are doing whatever they can to just shine the light on a lot of things that are happening in sports. But I'm a little bit different with Big C Sports Podcast. I honor the Just Act, where the United States Department of Justice made sure with the German government that the descendants of Holocaust got their reparations. And Native Americans, they got reparations from the United States government. Japanese Americans, they got reparations from the United States government. Who's next? Descendants of child slavery, African Americans. You gotta give that some praise. We're bigger than touchdown, home run, 3-point play. Old man Willie, he's going all the way. They love championing us for sports. But I do want to say, as I was talking to Jaylen Brown, the Senate in California is mostly Caucasian, and they passed the proposals for reparations. Imagine when our sports agents and sports athletes start doing the same thing that United States got involved to end apartheid in South Africa. It was not divisive. Oh, Big C, why are you being so divisive? Why would we give you back something that we stole from you? African Americans could not participate in the Homestead Act back in 1862. That generated tremendous wealth, but you had to be white or European white. If you were black, they told you no. If you built this country for free, they told you no. Even black soldiers couldn't benefit from the GI Bill. You had to be white. And then Jim Crow laws, all the garbage that bad people participated in. If you're a decent person, and what gives me hope is that the California Senate, they're mostly Caucasian. They supported California Senator Stephen Bradford. They didn't tell him no. They told him yes. By an average vote of 30-5 on Senate Bill 1331, Senate Bill 1403, and Senate Bill 1050. Google it, because there's a hearing coming up at the state capitol in California on June 11th at 9 o'clock a.m. in room 437. That's room 437. You only hear about that on Big C Sports Podcast. I love sports. It's $1 billion industry, and boys and girls sports is the foundation to this $1 billion industry. And it's good people, you people that make things come true. As I say, if you have assets and you want to protect your assets, are you talking about assets? No, Affleck's the duck. That's gap insurance. A duck can barely protect his own assets. That's why when you walk into a grocery store and you say, "Excuse me, do you have any duck I can buy?" They say, "Yeah, it's down in the poultry section." They say, "Why you put it in the poultry section?" They say because a duck cannot protect his own assets. RDC team can. 800-772-8624. 800-772-8624. If you have assets and you want to protect them, call the Big C team with RDC Consulting, Resource Development Consulting. 800-772-8624, 800-772-8624. Well, that's my story, and I'm sticking with it. You know, the NFL says end racism on the back of their end zones by the goalpost. The other goalpost that says it takes all of us. The NBA is big proponents for MLK Day and diversity and equality and all the good things. And good people are going to do the right things. For anyone that says, oh, we don't need to pay no reparations, they know if they went into their house when they got home from work tonight, if they were robbed, they would call 911. And they say, we've been robbed. You know what they want? They want it to be repaired. They wouldn't say, oh, it's divisive if we try to help you find who stole from you. But law enforcement says, do you have a description of the person that stole your merchandise? Maybe you have a video camera or security system. They say, yeah, we got the system, and it got everything on tape. They say, well, we need to take that tape and see if we can help investigate who took it. You know who took it from descendants of child slavery? United States government. Oh, then you go again talk about woke history. The country knows they did the wrong thing, and child slavery was wrong. Even the United Nations is pro-reparations for descendants of child slavery. If you do the right thing, you should always be in favor of doing the right thing. People say, well, God is my strength and power. Yeah, but the United States is a nation of laws. And if somebody takes something from you, you want it back. If someone stole your life insurance benefits through embezzlement, you want it back. May lightning strike if they don't give it back. Let's give it back. Do the right thing. Support California Senator Stephen Bradford in the California Reparations Task Force, because a mind is a terrible thing to waste. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. I thank the great Jaylen Brown for talking about his son, Jaylen Brown, Marcellus Brown. I see why Marcellus didn't get the last piece of sweet potato pie. Maybe they put Jaylen in Marcellus' place, and all he did was eat the pie. Hopefully his daddy will give him a slice of the pie, or he'll give his dad a slice of the pie. Share the pie! There's enough pie for everybody! That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. As I always tell you on every Big City Sports podcast, if you're going to drink, don't drive. If you're going to drive, don't drink. Because mothers against drunk drivers are mad, and fathers against drunk drivers are mad. It's one of the easiest things not to do. You could call Uber, you could call Lyft, you could walk it off, you could sleep it off. But don't let someone you love get behind the wheel of a car and start driving after they've been drinking, because the life you save may be your own, or someone you love, or someone that somebody else loves. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. As I always tell you, I love paying homage to my beautiful family legacy on my beautiful mother's side, my great-grandparents, Mama and Pop, my grandparents, Mudia and Hezekiah, and then I could always depend on my mama, the most beautiful mama in the history of the universe. Started a Head Start program, a food program, and coached an all-boys Little League baseball team to the championship of the universe. Always saying rise or shine, the best person I ever met in my life. And then my father's side, my grandparents, Albert Curry and Alberta Curry, they were pastors. They had 2 churches in Oakland, actually 3 churches and 2 gas stations in Oakland. And I remember 8 years old walking through a hallway about 10 o'clock at night, and I felt someone touch me in my forehead. She said, what are you doing, young man? Going to get some cookies? I said, what are you doing, Grandma? It's 10 o'clock at night. You normally go to bed at 8:30. She said, what are you doing, young man? Going to get some cookies? I said, cookies are baby crap to what I'm doing. I'm going to get my reparations. But some cookies wouldn't hurt because it's been a long time. And she said there's something about your voice. I love hearing you speak, and I'm on 29 podcast platforms, streaming on 4 TV platforms. I really do appreciate her. And then my beautiful father, former United States Air Force fighter pilot, chief mechanic, always making sure that planes can fly high. So get all, stay safe at night. Always saying, develop your mind to the highest extent. Love my dad with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. My beautiful brother Todd, with that bombastic voice, sound like thunder and lightning when Todd would speak. Always saying, go forward. A voracious reader, love Todd with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. My beautiful daughter Daisy, the most beautiful daughter in the history of the universe. College graduate, 2 degrees with honors, and 3.5 years from a major university. Set up the very first interview for Big City Sports Podcast back at Salem Media. We went on from there to become the first time in the history of the United States that NFL Monday Night Football started broadcasting live on the Wall Street Business Network. Before that, they'd always gone to ESPN. Daisy always trusts God, Isaiah 54:17. You can be anything you want to be. I love you with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. And my beautiful, handsome son, Malcolm, the most handsome son in the history of the universe. College graduate, very smart, erudite, a good man. Malcolm helped me save trees. I used to always get newspapers and look up stats for a Big City Sports podcast. And one day Malcolm said, Dad, why don't you just Google it? And a light bulb went off. I've been Googling ever since. One day Malcolm said, Dad, do you want to see Big C Sports on TV? I said, sure. He said, pick up the remote, aim it at the TV, you see your show come up when you say play Big C Sports. That's before it was even on the air. Now it's streaming on Xfinity, Comcast TV, Apple TV, Roku TV, and Amazon Fire TV. Malcolm, I love you with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. Always trust God. You can be anything you want to be. And then Big C, with all that wealth of knowledge over the years, always saying you got to believe, saying let's get ready to rumble. I love saying welcome to the show. SB nominated Big C Sports Podcast. I have no scripts. I have no 3-minute teleprompters. I have no producer in my ear. I have what's called a gland in the brain called the pineal gland. The ancients call it the third eye. And they say it's how you talk to God, and that's why I scream so loud. And as I always tell you on every Big C Sports podcast, back in the day, there's a man known by the name of Drew Boudini Brown. He's known as Muhammad Ali's right-hand man, and he would always tell Ali, he said, you float like a butterfly, and you sting like a bee. Rumble, young man, rumble. He said, with all you got to use, how can you lose? Ali said, I'm so pretty, I can't possibly be beat. And every time I listen to Big C Sports, I want to champion reparations now, reparations forever. And then I float like a butterfly, and I sting like a bee. As I always tell you on every Big C Sports show, I hope that the powers that be will do the right thing that the United Nations is calling for, and also good people. You know, you people. Say it with me like your team just won the game. Let's champion reparations now, reparations forever. Oh, you can say it. You cheer it louder. You cheer it louder for a horse at the Kentucky Derby. Now say it with me. Champion reparations now, reparations forever. Oh, come on. You champion louder than that for the last birthday party you went to. I want you to champion reparations now, reparations forever. I thank you. I appreciate you. And I hope that you have a super fantastic day.